The alarm bells rang through the corridors of the UES Horizon as Captain Jake Morrison walked quickly to the bridge. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor while crew members rushed past him. The ship was humanity's pride in space, built for talking in peace, not for fighting. It had been 3 months since they left Earth, and Jake thought this would be another boring patrol mission. "Captain on the bridge," called out Lieutenant Lisa Grant as Jake entered the command center. The bridge was filled with soft blue lights and the quiet hum of computers. Lisa stood at her station, her face serious as she looked at the screens in front of her. "What do we have, Lisa?" Jake asked as he sat down in his captain's chair. Around him, the crew worked at their stations. Commander Ryan Blake sat at the communications desk, his fingers moving quickly over the controls. "We got a distress call from Kepler Mining Colony, sir," Lisa said. "The signal is weak, but it sounds bad. They're asking for help." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Kepler Colony was home to over 2,000 people, most of them human families who had moved there to work in the mines. The colony was in neutral space, protected by Galactic Confederation law. No one was supposed to attack it. "Put it through, Ryan," Jake said. The main screen flickered, and a man's voice filled the bridge. The sound was broken and full of static, but Jake could hear the fear in it. "This is Kepler Colony calling any Confederation ship. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. The Zephyrians have surrounded our planet. They're demanding we surrender. We have women and children here. Please help us." The message ended. Leaving the bridge in silence, Jake looked around at his crew. They all knew what this meant. The Zephyrians were trouble. They were a race of aliens that looked like walking crystals, and they had been causing problems for years. They would attack weak colonies and take what they wanted. "How long to reach Kepler?" Jake asked. 2 days at maximum speed," Lisa answered. "Set course and engage. Ryan, send a message to Galactic Command. Tell them we're responding to the distress." Call. As the horizon turned toward Kepler Colony, Jake thought about the situation. Humanity had joined the Galactic Confederation 30 years ago. It was not easy at first. Most alien races were afraid of humans because Earth was what they called a death world. Most planets in the galaxy were safe and peaceful. Earth was dangerous, with storms, earthquakes, wild animals, and diseases that could kill you. Most species from death worlds were kept away from other aliens or turned into warriors. But humans were different. They chose to be peaceful. They talked instead of fighting. They helped instead of taking. After 30 years, most aliens trusted humans. They called them the reasonable Deathworlders. But Jake knew that some aliens still did not trust humans. They thought humans were hiding their true nature. They thought that one day humans would show their teeth and become the monsters that Deathworlds usually created. "Captain," Ryan said, "I have Admiral Clark on the line from Earth Command." The screen showed the face of Admiral George Clark, an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in charge of Earth's military for 10 years. "Jake, I heard about Kepler. What's the situation?" "We're 2 days out, Admiral. The Zephyrians have surrounded the colony. We don't know how many ships they have or what they want. The Zephyrians have been getting bolder lately. They've attacked 3 colonies in the past month. The Galactic Council keeps talking, but they don't do anything." Jake nodded. The Galactic Council was made up of representatives from all the major alien races. They made the laws for the Confederation, but they moved slowly. Sometimes Jake thought they talked too much and acted too little. "What are my orders, sir?" "Follow protocol. Try to talk first. Use the minimum force necessary if you have to fight. We can't give the other races a reason to think we're becoming aggressive." "Understood, Admiral." The screen went dark and Jake was alone with his thoughts. He had been in the Space Navy for 15 years, but he had never been in a real fight. Most of his missions were about helping people or carrying supplies. The few times he had faced hostile aliens, talking had worked. 2 days later, the horizon dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler Colony. Jake stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. 12 Zephyrian ships surrounded the small planet. They were long and sharp, looking like flying knives made of black metal. Each ship was twice the size of the horizon. On the planet's surface, Jake could see the lights of the colony, but there were also bright flashes that meant explosions. "They're bombing the colony," Lisa said quietly. "Get me a channel to the Zephyrian commander," Jake ordered. The screen flickered, and Jake found himself looking at a Zephyrian. The alien looked like a person made of purple crystals. Its face had no expression, but its eyes glowed with red light. "I am Commander Thackler of the Zephyrian Empire. You will leave this system immediately, human. I am Captain Morrison of the UES Horizon. You are attacking a neutral colony in violation of Confederation law. Stop your attack and withdraw from this system." Thackler made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Confederation and its laws mean nothing to us. This world has resources we need. The humans here can choose to work for us or die. These are innocent people. They have done nothing to you. They exist on a world we want. That is enough." Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "The Galactic Council will not allow this. Other races will come to help if you don't stop. The Council talks and does nothing. Other races are weak and afraid, and you, human, are the most afraid of all. You pretend to be peaceful, but we know what you really are. You are predators trying to hide among sheep." The screen went dark. Jake stood there for a moment, feeling the eyes of his crew on him. They were waiting for his orders. "Lisa, what's our tactical situation?" "We're outnumbered 12-1, Captain. Their ships are bigger and have more weapons, but our ship is faster and more advanced." "Any other Confederation ships in the area?" "Negative. The nearest help is 4 days away." Jake looked at the planet on the screen. Even from space he could see the explosions getting bigger. People were dying down there, human people. Men, women, and children who had come to this world to build a better life. "Ryan, open a channel to the colony." A new voice came through the speakers. It was a woman, and she sounded scared. "This is Dr. Carol Hayes at Kepler Colony. Thank God you're here. They're bombing our shelters. We have 300 people in the main facility, including 60 children. I don't know how long we can hold out." "Dr. Hayes, this is Captain Morrison. We're going to get you out of there. Stay in your shelters and wait for our signal." "Captain, they're demanding we surrender. They say if we don't give up in 6 hours, they'll kill everyone." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. 6 hours. That was not enough time for help to arrive. The Horizon was alone, facing 12 enemy ships on a planet full of people who needed saving. "Understood, Doctor. Hold your position." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. These were good people who had signed up to explore space and help others. They had not signed up to fight a war. But sometimes, Jake thought, good people had. To do hard things, Lisa, prepare for combat operations. Ryan, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what's happening here. Should I request backup, Captain? Yes, but tell them not to wait for us. If we can't stop this, someone else will have to. As the Horizon moved toward the planet, Jake thought about what Admiral Clark had said. Follow protocol. Use minimum force. Don't give other races a reason to fear humans. But what happened when protocol was not enough? What happened when minimum force could not save innocent lives? Jake did not know the answer, but he was about to find out. Lieutenant Colonel Amy Parker stood in the Horizon's Marine Bay, watching the screens that showed what was happening on Kepler Colony. Her hands were clenched into fists as she saw Zephyrian soldiers dragging human colonists out of their homes. The aliens were tall and moved like walking pieces of broken glass, their crystal bodies catching the light from the burning buildings. "Turn it off," said Sergeant Major Pete Johnson, standing beside her. His voice was quiet, but Amy could hear the anger in it. Pete had been a Marine for 20 years, and he had seen many bad things, but this was different. "No," Amy said. "We need to see this. We need to remember." On the screen, a Zephyrian soldier grabbed a human woman by the arm. She was crying and trying to reach for a small child who was hiding behind a piece of broken concrete. The alien said something to her, and when she shook her head, he hit her with the back of his crystal hand. She fell to the ground, blood running. From her face, Amy felt something dark and cold growing in her stomach. She had been a Marine for 12 years, but she had never seen humans being hurt like this. The Confederation had rules about how prisoners should be treated. There were laws about protecting civilians, but the Zephyrians did not care about rules. Or laws. "Colonel," said Corporal Don Miller, one of her youngest Marines, "why are we just watching? Why don't we go down there and stop them?" "Because Captain Morrison is trying to solve this with words," Amy said. But even as she said it, she wondered if words would be enough. On the bridge, Dr. Nathan Cross was studying the information that came from the planet. He was the ship's expert on alien life, and he knew more about other races than anyone else. On the ship, what he was seeing in his reports made him sick. "Captain," he said, walking over to Jake Morrison, "I need to show you something." Jake looked tired. He had been trying to contact other Confederation ships, but they were all too far away. The Galactic Council was having another meeting, but meetings took time, and time was something they did not have. "What is it, Nathan?" "I've been studying the Zephyrian communications. They're not just taking the colony for the minerals, they're taking the people too." "What do you mean?" Nathan's face was pale. "They're harvesting organs, Captain. Human organs. There's a black market in the galaxy for parts from Deathworld species. Humans are considered ... exotic." Jake felt his blood turn to ice. "Are you sure?" "I've seen the shipping manifest they're transmitting. They're planning to take 50 adults back to their homeworld. The rest—" Nathan could not finish the sentence. "The rest what, Doctor?" "The rest they'll kill and process here. They have mobile harvesting units on their ships." Jake stared at the screen showing the planet. 2,000 people lived down there. Men, women, children. Families who had left Earth to build a new life among the stars. And now they were going to be killed and cut up like animals. "Sir," said Commander Ryan Blake from his station, "I have Ambassador Helen Wright on the line from the Galactic Council station." The screen showed a woman in her 50s with gray hair and kind eyes. She had been Earth's voice in the Galactic Council for 10 years, always fighting for peace and understanding between species. "Jake, I've been trying to get the Council to act, but they're moving slowly. The Centauri delegate wants to study the situation more. The Altarians say this is not their problem. The Draconians won't get involved unless the Zephyrians attack one of their worlds." "How long do we have, Helen?" "I might be able to get emergency authorization for military action in 18 hours. Maybe 12 if I can convince the Vegan Republic to support us." "We don't have 18 hours. We have 4 hours before the Zephyrians start killing hostages." Helen's face fell. "I'm sorry, Jake. I'm doing everything I can, but the Council doesn't work like Earth's government. Every decision takes time. What about the peacekeeping force?" "They're 3 days away, and they won't move without Council approval anyway." Jake ended the call and sat back in his chair. Around him, his crew continued their work, but he could feel their eyes on him. They were waiting for him to make a decision that could save the people on the planet or get them all killed down in the Marine Bay. Amy was meeting with her squad leaders. There were 30 Marines on the horizon, trained. Soldiers who had signed up to protect human colonies and ships. They were good fighters, but they had never faced a situation like this. "What's the plan, Colonel?" asked Sergeant Lisa Stone, a tough woman from Mars who had been fighting pirates in the outer systems. "We don't have a plan yet," Amy said. "Captain, Morrison is still trying to find a peaceful solution." "Peace," said Pete Johnson, spitting on the floor. "You can't make peace with animals." "The Zephyrians are not animals, Sergeant Major. They're intelligent beings who have chosen to act like monsters." "What's the difference?" Amy did not have an answer for that. She had studied alien cultures at the military academy. She knew that different species had different ways of thinking and acting. But she also knew that some actions were wrong no matter who did them. Killing innocent people was wrong. Hurting children was wrong. Taking people apart like machines was wrong. "Colonel," said Don Miller, the young Marine who had spoken earlier, "my sister lives on New Texas Colony. If someone was doing this to her, I would want someone to help her. I would want someone to fight for her. Amy looked at the young man. He was only 22 years old, fresh out of training, but his eyes were old now, aged by what he had seen on the screens. I know, Don, we all want to help. But we have to follow orders. What if the orders are wrong? The question hung in the air like smoke. Amy had been a Marine for 12 years, and she had always followed orders. The military worked because people followed orders. But what happened when following orders meant letting innocent people die? On the bridge, Jake was reading reports from Earth Command. Other human ships were moving toward Kepler, but they were all too far away. The closest one was the UES Defender, but it was still 36 hours out. "Captain," said Lisa Grant, "I'm getting more transmissions from the Zephyrians. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it on the main screen." The screen showed Commander Thackler again, but this time he was not alone. Behind him, Jake could see human prisoners. They were tied up and looked scared. Some of them were hurt. "Humans of the ship Horizon," Thackler said. "You have 3 hours to leave this system. If you do not leave, we will begin executing prisoners. We will start with the children." The screen changed, and Jake saw something that made his heart stop. It was a group of human children, maybe 10 or 12 years old, sitting in a metal cage. They were crying and holding each other. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, was looking directly at the camera. Her eyes were big and scared, but she was trying to be brave. "We will kill 1 child every hour until you leave," Thackler continued. "This is not a negotiation. This is a warning." The screen went dark, leaving the bridge in silence. Jake sat there, staring at the empty screen. He thought about his own daughter back on Earth. She was 8 years old, just a year older than the little girl he had seen. What would he do if someone was threatening her? "Sir," said Ryan Blake quietly, "I have a message from Earth Command. It's coded Priority Alpha." Jake took the message pad and read it. His face went white as he read the words. When he finished, he looked up at his crew. "I need to speak with Colonel Parker. Lisa, you have the bridge." Jake walked to the Marine Bay, where Amy was still meeting with her squad leaders. When she saw his face, she dismissed the others and walked over to him. "What is it, Captain?" "I just received a message from Earth Command. Protocol 7 has been authorized." Amy's eyes went wide. Every human military officer knew about Protocol 7, but it had never been used. It was the protocol that removed all restrictions on human military forces when facing genocide. "Are you sure, sir?" "I'm sure." The message came directly from the President and the Secretary of Defense. "What does this mean?" Jake looked at the screens showing the planet where 2,000 humans were waiting to die. "It means we're not going to follow Confederation rules anymore. It means we're going to fight like humans." Amy felt something change inside her. For 30 years, humanity had been the peaceful members of the Galactic Confederation. They had followed the rules even when the rules did not make sense. They had been patient even when patience meant people got hurt, but now, looking at the screens showing human children in cages, Amy felt something she had never felt before. She felt the anger that came from millions of years of evolution on a world where only the strongest survived. She felt the rage of a predator whose pack was being threatened. "What are your orders, Captain?" "Get your Marines ready, Colonel. We're going to show the galaxy why Deathworld species are usually kept in quarantine." For the first time in hours, Amy smiled, but it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a hunter who had found her prey. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of the bridge, looking at the 12 Zephyrian ships that surrounded Kepler Colony. For 30 years, humans had followed the rules. They had been patient. They had talked when others wanted to fight. They had been the good members of the Galactic Confederation, but now, looking at the screens showing human children in cages, Jake felt something change deep inside him. It was like a door opening in his mind, letting out something that had been locked away for a long time. "Ryan, open a channel to all Zephyrian ships," Jake said. His voice was different now, colder and harder than before. "Channel open, Captain." Jake looked directly at the camera, knowing that Commander Thackler would see his face. This is Captain Morrison of the UES Horizon. I'm speaking to all Zephyrian forces in this system. You have 1 hour to surrender completely and release all hostages. This is your only warning. The response came quickly. Thackler's crystal face appeared on the screen, and the alien was making the sound that passed for laughter among his people. 1 hour, you make me laugh, human. You have 1 ship against 12. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Leave now, or watch as we kill your people slowly. You misunderstand the situation, Jake said quietly. I am not making a request. I am telling you what is going to happen. You will surrender or you will die? There is no third option? Thackler's red eyes glowed brighter. You think you can frighten us with words? We know what you are, human. You are weak creatures who pretend to be civilized. You hide your true nature behind pretty speeches and empty threats. You're right about one thing, Jake said. We have been hiding our true nature. But you just made the mistake of threatening our children. Now you get to see what we really are. Jake cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Lisa, battle stations. Ryan, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we are engaging under Protocol 7. Nathan, I want you to analyze the Zephyrian ship designs. Find me their weak points. Yes, sir, Nathan said, his fingers flying over his computer. Captain, their ships are built like crystals. They're very strong against energy weapons, but they might be weak against kinetic impact. Kinetic weapons, Jake said. Railguns and missile torpedoes, exactly. Their crystal armor can absorb laser fire, but it will shatter if hit hard enough with solid projectiles. Lieutenant Lisa Grant was already working at her tactical station. Captain, I've identified the command ship. It's the large one in the center of their formation. If we can take it out, the others will lose coordination. How long before other human ships arrive? The UES Defender is still 34 hours out. The U's Valiant is 40 hours away. Jake nodded. They were alone, but that was fine. Sometimes one ship was all you needed if you knew how to use it properly. Amy, how are your Marines? Colonel Amy Parker's voice came through the communicator. Ready for anything, Captain. We have drop pods prepared if you need us on the ground. Stand by. We're going to take care of the ships first. Jake walked to the pilot station, where Lieutenant Commander Steve Hayes was preparing the ship for combat. Steve was one of the best pilots in the human fleet, and he had been waiting his whole career for a chance to show what he could do. Steve, I need you to fly this ship like it's a fighter, not a cruiser. Can you do that? I've been waiting for someone to ask me that question for 10 years, Captain. Jake smiled for the first time in hours. Then show me what a Deathworld pilot can do. The horizon began to move, and immediately the Zephyrian ships started firing. Bright energy beams cut through space, but Steve moved the ship like it was dancing. He rolled and twisted, diving under some shots and jumping over others. The Zephyrians had never seen a ship move like that. Their weapons are too slow, Steve said, his hands moving over the controls. They're used to fighting ships that move in straight lines. That's because most species are logical, Jake said. They don't take crazy risks. But we're not most species. The horizon dove toward the Zephyrian formation, moving between the enemy ships like a fish swimming through rocks. Lisa was working at her station, targeting the enemy vessels with deadly precision. Firing railguns, she said. The horizon's main weapons fired, sending solid metal projectiles at incredible speed toward the nearest Zephyrian ship. The projectiles hit the crystal armor and went straight through it like it was made of glass. The enemy ship exploded in a shower of purple fire. 1 down, 11 to go, Lisa said. The Zephyrians were confused. They had never seen anything like this before. Their ships were bigger and had more weapons, but they could not hit the human ship. The horizon moved too fast and too unpredictably. They're trying to surround us, Steve said. Let them try, Jake replied. Ryan, are you recording this? Yes, Captain. Full tactical recording. Good, make sure Earth Command sees exactly what happens here. The horizon spun around and fired its missiles at 2 more Zephyrian ships. The missiles were not very big, but they were very fast, and they hit exactly where they were aimed. 2 more enemy ships exploded. Commander Thackler was screaming orders at his remaining ships, but his crews were starting to panic. They had never fought an enemy like this before. Most galactic species fought in formation, moving slowly and carefully. But humans fought like wild animals, using speed and surprise instead of careful planning. "Captain," said Nathan from his station, "I'm picking up transmissions from the planet. The Zephyrian ground forces are getting nervous. They're asking for orders." "Good, let them be nervous." The Horizon dove toward another enemy ship, firing its weapons at point-blank range. The Zephyrian ship tried to turn away, but it was too slow. The railgun projectiles tore through its hull, and it broke apart like a broken bottle. 4 down, Lisa said. 8 to go. But the Zephyrians were learning. They stopped trying to hit the Horizon directly and started firing at the space around it, trying to create a wall of energy beams that the human ship could not avoid. "They're adapting," Steve said. "I can't dodge all of these shots." "Then don't dodge them," Jake said. "Go straight through them. Captain, that's suicide." "No, it's not, trust me." Steve took a deep breath and pointed the Horizon directly at the center of the Zephyrian formation. Energy beams hit the ship's shields, making them glow bright blue. The shields were designed to protect against a few hits, not a continuous bombardment. "Shields at 60%, Lisa reported. 50%. 40%. "Whole course," Jake said. "Shields at 30%. 20%. The Horizon was now in the middle of the enemy formation, surrounded by 8 Zephyrian ships. It looked like the human ship was trapped. "Now," Jake said. The Horizon fired all its weapons at once. Railguns, missiles, and energy beams shot out in all directions. At such close range, the Zephyrian ships could not miss, but neither could the Horizon. 4 enemy ships exploded almost at the same time, their crystal hulls shattering like glass. "Windows, shields at 5%, Lisa said. "We can't take much more damage. We won't have to," Jake said. "Steve, get us out of here." The Horizon shot out of the formation, moving faster than the remaining Zephyrian ships could track. 4 enemy ships were left, including the command ship with Thackler. "This is impossible," Thackler was saying on the open channel. "You are. Only 1 ship. How are you doing this?" "We're doing it because we have to," Jake said. "Because you threatened our children. Because you decided to find out what happens when you make a Deathworld species angry." The remaining Zephyrian ships were trying to retreat, but the Horizon was faster. Lisa targeted the command ship with everything they had left. The missiles hit first, cracking the crystal armor. Then the railguns fired, and the solid projectiles punched through the cracks like hammers hitting glass. Thackler's ship exploded, taking the Zephyrian commander with it. The 3 remaining ships surrendered immediately. "This is the Zephyrian vessel Shard Cutter," came a voice over the communicator. "We surrender." "Please do not fire. We surrender." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at him with new respect. In less than an hour, they had destroyed 9 enemy ships and forced the surrender of 3 more. They had done something that should have been impossible. "Ryan, open a channel to the planet. This is Captain Morrison to all Zephyrian ground. Forces, your fleet is destroyed. Your commander is dead. You have 10 minutes to surrender and release all hostages, or we will come down there and finish this fight on the ground." The response came quickly. "This is Ground Commander Veltar. We surrender. We are releasing all prisoners now." Jake sat back in his captain's chair, feeling tired but satisfied. Around him, his crew was celebrating, but he was thinking about what they had just done. They had fought like humans were supposed to fight. They had used their speed, their creativity, and their willingness to take risks that other species would never take. "Captain," said Dr. Nathan Cross, "I'm getting reports from across the galaxy. News of this battle is spreading fast. Other species are talking about it. What are they saying?" "They're scared, Captain. They're saying that the humans have finally shown their true nature. They're saying that the Deathworlders have stopped pretending to be civilized." Jake thought about that. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans had been pretending for 30 years. Maybe it was time to stop pretending and start being what they really were. Amy, get your Marines ready. 3 days after the battle at Kepler Colony, the news had spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On 1,000 different worlds, alien beings watched the recordings of a single human ship destroying an entire Zephyrian fleet. They watched it again and again, trying to understand how it was possible on the planet Altair Prime. The Altarian Council was meeting in emergency session. The Altarians looked like tall, thin people with blue skin and large black eyes. They had been allies of the Zephyrians for over a century, trading weapons and technology with them. The humans have revealed their true nature, said Council Leader Moron, his voice shaking slightly. They are not the peaceful beings we thought they were. They are killers. One ship destroyed 12, said another council member. 12 ships that should have been able to defeat any single vessel in the galaxy. How is this possible? They move like nothing we have ever seen, said the military advisor, a scarred veteran named Coulter. Their ship did not follow any known tactical patterns. It moved like a living thing, like a predator hunting prey. Moran stood up and walked to the large window that looked out over their beautiful city. Altair Prime was a peaceful world with crystal towers and floating gardens. It had never known war, never known the fear that came from facing a true predator species. Send a message to Earth, he said finally. Tell them we are ending our alliance with the Zephyrian Empire. Tell them we want to discuss a new trade agreement. Meanwhile, on the water world of Centauri Beta, the Centauri Republic was having a similar meeting. The Centauri looked like giant squids with blue and green skin that changed colors when they were emotional. Right now, most of them were flashing bright yellow, which meant they were very worried. The balance of power in the galaxy has changed, said Prime Minister Gelthan, his tentacles waving nervously. The humans are no longer pretending to be weak. They have shown us what Deathworld beings are really capable of. Should we be afraid? Asked the Defense Minister. We should be careful, Gelthan replied. The humans have been our friends for 30 years, but we have never seen them fight before. Now we know why other species fear Deathworld beings. What should we do? We increase our defense budget by 50%, and we make sure the humans know we are still their friends. On Earth, Admiral George Clark was sitting in his office, reading reports from across the galaxy. Every few minutes, another message arrived from alien governments. Some were asking for defense agreements. Others were offering to share technology. A few were demanding that Earth control its military forces. Admiral Clark was an old man who had seen many changes in his lifetime. He had been a young officer when humans first met alien life. He had watched humanity struggle to find its place in the galactic community. And now he was watching the galaxy realize what humans really were. His assistant, Captain Linda Ross, entered the office with another stack of messages. Sir, we have responses from 47 different governments. The Draconian Empire wants to meet with our military leaders. The Vegan Republic is offering to share their shield technology. And the Galactic Council is demanding an immediate explanation. What about the Zephyrian Empire? Complete surrender, sir. They're offering to pay reparations for the attack on Kepler Colony. They want to negotiate a peace treaty. Admiral Clark smiled. 3 days ago, the Zephyrians had been calling humans weak. Now they were begging for peace. Set up a meeting with the Draconian military. I want to know what they're thinking. Yes, sir. There's also something else. Dr. Elizabeth Murphy from the Xenopsychology Institute wants to speak with you. She says, it's urgent. Dr. Murphy was the galaxy's leading expert on how different alien species thought and acted. She had studied human psychology for years, trying to understand why humans were so different from other intelligent species. Send her in. Dr. Murphy was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent most of her career studying alien minds, but lately she had been studying human minds instead. Admiral, I need to show you something, she said, putting a data pad on his desk. I've been analyzing the psychological profiles of other galactic species, and I've discovered something important. What is it? Most intelligent species in the galaxy evolved on safe worlds, worlds with few predators, stable climates, and abundant resources. They developed intelligence to solve problems, not to fight for survival. Admiral Clark nodded. This was not new information. But humans are different, Dr. Murphy continued. Earth is what we call a death world. It has dangerous weather, deadly predators, diseases, and natural disasters. Humans developed intelligence not just to solve problems, but to survive in a hostile environment. And this has created fundamental differences in how we think. Other species try to avoid risk. They plan carefully and move slowly. They prefer stability and predictability. But humans are comfortable with danger. We take risks that other species would never consider. We can adapt quickly to changing situations. She touched the datapad and it showed a video of the battle. At Kepler Colony, look at how the human ship moves. No other species would fly like that. They would consider it too dangerous, too unpredictable. But for humans, this kind of movement is natural. We are predators, Admiral, we always have been. Admiral Clark watched the video again. He saw his people fighting with a skill and ferocity that came from millions of years of evolution on a world that tried to kill everything that lived on it. What are you suggesting, Doctor? I'm suggesting that we need to be very careful about how we use this new reputation. The galaxy is scared of us now. They've realized that we've been holding back for 30 years. Some species will want to be our allies. Others might try to destroy us before we become too powerful. And what do you think we should do? We should use our reputation to protect people. Not to conquer or dominate, but to make sure that what happened at Kepler Colony never happens again to anyone. Admiral Clark thought about this. He looked out his window at the blue sky of Earth, the dangerous but beautiful world that had created humanity. The next day, Admiral Clark stood before the Galactic Council, the first human military leader ever to address the Assembly directly. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from hundreds of different species. Some looked afraid, others looked curious. All of them were paying attention. Members of the Galactic Council, Admiral Clark began. 3 days ago, human forces responded to an attack on innocent civilians. We used the minimum force necessary to stop a genocide. I am here today to explain what this means for the future. He looked around the hall, making eye contact with as many representatives as he could. For 30 years, humanity has followed Confederation rules even when those rules prevented us from protecting innocent people. We have been patient when patience meant people died. We have been peaceful when peace meant allowing evil to continue. The hall was completely silent. This ends today. From now on, humanity will not be bound by military restrictions when protecting human lives or preventing genocide. Any species that targets civilians, any government that uses murder as a tool, any military that harvests sentient beings like animals will face unrestricted human response. A murmur went through the hall. Some representatives looked angry. Others looked frightened. But we are not conquerors, Admiral Clark continued. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. Therefore, Earth proposes the creation of the Galactic Protection Agency, a rapid response force designed to prevent future genocides and protect civilian populations. He paused, letting this sink in. This agency will be jointly commanded by human and alien officers, but it will use human tactical doctrine. It will have the authority to intervene in any situation where civilian lives are threatened. It will be funded by all member species and will answer to the Galactic Council. And if we refuse? Asked the Draconian representative, a large reptilian. Being with golden scales, Admiral Clark smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. Then the next time innocents are threatened, human ships will arrive alone. And you have seen what happens when humans fight alone. The Draconian representative nodded slowly. The Draconian Empire supports this proposal. One by one, other representatives stood to support the proposal. The Centauri Republic, the Vegan Alliance, even the Alteran Federation, former allies of the Zephyrians. Within hours, The Galactic Protection Agency was approved by a vote of 1,247 to 2-3. Later that day, Admiral Clark met with Captain Jake Morrison, who had been promoted and given command of the new agency's first ship. "You've started something big, Jake," the Admiral said. "The galaxy will never be the same." "I hope it will be better, sir. It will be safer, at least. The predators will think twice before attacking the innocent." Jake looked out at the stars through the window of Earth's orbital station. Somewhere out there, in the vast darkness of space, there were people who needed protection. There were children who needed someone to stand between them and the monsters. "What should we call the new ship, sir?" Admiral Clark smiled. "Call it the Guardian." "Because that's what we are now. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but guardians of those who cannot guard themselves." As news of the Galactic Protection Agency spread across the galaxy, something changed in the way different species looked at each other. 5 years had passed since the battle at Kepler Colony, and the galaxy was a different place. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Unity 1, the massive space station that served as headquarters for the Galactic Protection Agency. Through the thick windows he could see ships from dozens of different species docking at the station's many ports. The station was enormous, built jointly by human and alien engineers. It had training facilities, medical centers, research labs, and living quarters for thousands of beings from across the galaxy. Most importantly, it had the command center where the Protection Agency coordinated its missions. Jake was no longer the uncertain captain who had first responded to the distress call from Kepler. 5 years of protecting innocent people had changed he was still the same man who cared about others, but now he carried the confidence that came from knowing he could make a real difference in the galaxy. "Admiral," said Colonel Amy Parker, walking up beside him. She now wore the uniform of the Protection Agency, with symbols from both human and alien military traditions. "The morning briefing is ready." Amy had changed too. She was still the tough Marine who would fight anyone who threatened innocent people, but she had learned to work with alien soldiers who thought very differently than humans did. She had become a teacher as well as a warrior. They walked together to the command center, where representatives from 20 different species were waiting. The room was designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. Some sat in chairs, others floated in tanks of water, and a few hung from special perches attached to the ceiling. "Good morning, everyone," Jake said as he took his place at the center of the room. "What's our status today?" Lieutenant Commander Ryan Blake, now the agency's chief communications officer, stood up with his report. "We have 3 active missions, Admiral. The Used Guardian is responding to a pirate attack in the Vega system. The CSS Defender is providing humanitarian aid to refugees from the Civil War on Rigel 4, and the AFS Protector is investigating reports of slave trading in the Outer Rim." Jake nodded. The Protection Agency now had 12 ships, crewed by humans and aliens working together. Each ship was designed for rapid response to crisis situations. They were fast, well-armed, and equipped with the best medical and rescue equipment in the galaxy. "Any problems?" "The pirates in the Vega system surrendered as soon as they saw our ship approaching," Ryan said with a small smile. "Apparently they've heard the stories about what happens when you fight the Protection Agency." Jake smiled too. The agency's reputation had grown quickly. Pirates, slavers, and other criminals now thought twice before attacking innocent people. They knew that somewhere in the galaxy there were humans and their allies who would come looking for them. "What about the Rigel situation?" Dr. Nathan Cross, who now served as the agency's head of alien relations, answered this question. "The Civil War is ending, Admiral. Both sides have agreed to peace talks. Our medical teams have saved over 3,000 lives, and our engineers have helped rebuild the water treatment plants." "Good work. Nathan, how is the new training program?" "Going? Very well, sir. We have cadets from 47 different species training together. The humans are teaching combat tactics and rapid response techniques. The aliens are teaching diplomacy, engineering, and medical procedures. Everyone is learning from everyone else." This was one of Jake's proudest achievements. The Protection Agency was not just a human organization with alien helpers. It was a truly integrated force where different species worked together, each contributing their own strengths. "Admiral," said Commander Lisa Grant, who now served as the agency's chief tactical officer, "we have a special visitor today. Dr. Elizabeth Murphy from Earth is here to present her latest research." Dr. Murphy entered the room, carrying a data pad and smiling at the diverse group of beings gathered around the table. She had become famous across the galaxy for her studies on interspecies cooperation. "Thank you for seeing me, Admiral," she said. "I wanted to share the results of my 5-year study on the Protection Agency's impact on galactic society." She activated a holographic display that showed statistics and charts. Crime rates across the galaxy have dropped by 68% since the agency was formed. Piracy is down by 82%. Most importantly, there have been 0 attempted genocides in the past 5 years. A murmur of satisfaction went around the room. These were not just numbers. They represented millions of lives saved, families kept together, children who could grow up in safety. But the most interesting finding, Dr. Murphy continued, is how the agency has changed the way different species interact with each other. Before Kepler Colony, most species were afraid to get involved when others were in trouble. They followed rules and procedures even when those rules meant people died. She changed the display to show a timeline of recent events. Now, when there's a crisis, species call the Protection Agency immediately. But more than that, they're starting to help each other directly. The Centauri Republic sent medical supplies to help the Draconian Empire fight a plague. The Alteran Federation shared their shield technology with smaller worlds that couldn't defend themselves. Jake felt a warm feeling in his chest. This was what he had hoped for when they first created the agency. Not just human ships racing around the galaxy, putting out fires, but all species working together to prevent fires from starting. "There's something else," Dr. Murphy said. "The galaxy has developed what I call the Kepler principle when anyone is being threatened. Other species ask themselves, what would the humans do? And then they act with courage instead of hiding behind bureaucracy." Later that day, Jake visited the station's training facility, where young beings from across the galaxy were learning to work together. He watched a human Marine teaching a group of Centauri cadets how to move quickly in zero gravity. Nearby, a Draconian engineer was showing human students how to repair damaged life support systems. In the combat training area, he saw something that would have been impossible 5 years ago. A mixed team of humans, Altarians, and vegans were practicing boarding actions against simulated pirate ships. They moved together like they had been fighting side by side for years. "It's amazing, isn't it?" said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Ambassador Helen Wright, who had become the Galactic Council's special liaison to the Protection Agency. "What's amazing? 5 years ago, these species barely trusted each other. Now look at them. They're not just allies, they're friends." Jake watched a young human woman helping a Centauri cadet who had fallen during the exercise. The Centauri's skin was flashing grateful colors, and the human was laughing as she pulled her teammate to his feet. "Helen, do you think we did the right thing? At Kepler, I mean. When we decided to fight instead of following procedures." Helen was quiet for a moment, thinking about the question. "Jake, before Kepler, the galaxy was a place where the strong could prey on the weak as long as they filled out the right paperwork. Children could be murdered as long as it was done legally. Innocents could suffer as long as the proper committees were formed to study the problem." She pointed to the training area where species that had once been enemies were now working together to protect others. "You didn't just save 2,000 people at Kepler Colony. You saved the idea that some things are more important than rules. You saved the idea that protecting innocent people is worth taking risks." That evening, Jake stood again on the observation deck, but this time he was not alone. Representatives from the Galactic Council were with him, along with military officers from a dozen different species. They were celebrating the 5th anniversary of the Protection Agency. "Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all classifications," said Counselor Veltar, a former Zephyrian who now served as the galaxy's Secretary of Peace. 5 years ago, my people made a terrible mistake. We thought that strength meant the ability to hurt others. We learned that true strength means the ability to protect others. He raised his glass in a toast. To the humans who showed us the difference between power and responsibility. To the Protection Agency, which has made the galaxy safer for all our children. And to the memory of Kepler Colony, where the galaxy learned that some fights are worth fighting. Jake looked around. The room had faces from dozens of different worlds. 5 years ago, many of these beings had been afraid of humans. Now they stood together as partners in protecting the innocent. The myth is wrong, Jake said quietly, speaking to the group. We didn't abandon fair play at Kepler Colony. We redefined it. Fair play doesn't mean following rules when innocents are dying. Fair play means making sure everyone gets a chance to live in peace. He looked out at the stars through the window. Somewhere out there, Protection Agency ships were patrolling the galaxy, crewed by humans and aliens working together. Somewhere out there, children were sleeping safely because dedicated beings stood watch over them. The Kepler incident taught the galaxy that humans will fight when we have to, Jake continued. But it also taught us that we prefer to build. We prefer to protect. We prefer to teach others how to protect themselves. As the celebration continued around him, Jake thought about the little girl he had seen in the Zephyrian cage 5 years ago.